Stacy Simmonds had a long career in retail branding and sales, all the while with a lifelong dream of opening her own store. Before settling in Serenbe, she and her husband Jason lived in cities all over the country. She didn't know it at the time, but everywhere she lived, she was acquiring the inspiration for what is now Hamlin, her modern lifestyle store in the Selborne neighborhood. The relaxing in-store atmosphere, the curated, necessary-ish products, and the amazing experiences she creates, including an adult big wheel race, are all about making adults feel like kids again.
We just want everybody to have a good time, and we just want to give back to, everyone in the community that supports us. I can't say enough, especially in the last year, all the residents and people that kept my door open, people that called, people that made orders. That's what Big Wheels at the end of the day is about.
So I want to welcome everybody back to Serenbe Stories. Today we have one of our residents who also owns a beautiful shop in Serenbe. So I want to say hi to Stacy. Hey, Stacy, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
And Steve is with us, of course. How are you doing, Steve, this morning?
Good. And good morning, Stacy.
Good morning.
Stacy, your other half is not with us today, Jason. I know that he is your partner in crime, not only in life, but in the store. I wanted to just note that he's going to be a big part of our conversation today, I think, as well as all about how you got here, the store, and what you're up to. So one of the first things we ask everybody is, Stacy, how did you find out about Serenbe? How did you come to live with us?
Well, it started a few years ago when we were invited to a dinner. We owed somebody a birthday dinner, and he had suggested the Hill, and it was the best burger. So we said, let's go for your birthday. We had kind of already knew about Serenbe through Jason's work, but we had never been. So we drove down from the city, from Atlanta, and gave ourselves 30 extra minutes to kind of just park and wander. And that's kind of where that all started, wandering the streets of Serenbe and sort of taking in all the details and saying, what is this place? This feels so special. And, had a wonderful meal at the Hill, a great dinner with a good friend. And it just kind of stuck with us from that evening forward. Once we went back to the city, Serenbe was kind of part of a conversation, and we were curious about the community.
Mm-hmm. And were you guys how long were you living in Atlanta? Because I feel like you'd lived around the country. You guys had been bopping around LA maybe for a moment. And tell us a little bit about how you even came to Atlanta.
Yeah, we really lived all over the country. We grew up in the Midwest. We headed out to the East Coast for careers. Then we were in New York City. We moved to LA and a few other spots in between. We basically got married and just decided to sort of hit the road. It wasn't your normal get married, get a house, start to nest sort of life, but it was great. It still is great. And work brought us to Atlanta. So we found ourselves in the old Fourth Ward and found ourselves staying in Atlanta for, more than, the past couple of years. We had been popping around, like you had said, and really liked Atlanta. And Jason continued to find work here in Atlanta. And so we thought, well, maybe this is where we maybe put some roots down. And so that's when we started to look for a possible potential future home, but not really knowing what we were looking for.
Right. Well, Old Fourth Ward is super cool neighborhood. And so those for listening, this is like where Ponce City Market is and the Beltline goes through, and it's sort of like a very hip up and coming, or has been up and coming neighborhood. So what got you guys out of there? Cause city's a lot of fun.
That's true. And we've lived in many, many great cities. And so, but we really like to explore and try new places. We're really open to any kind of new community or neighborhood or city. And so I think we took another drive down to Serenbe on a Saturday when we had some free time. And we just really kind of liked how we felt when we were down here. We slowed down. We had more conversations. We a lot of the times looked up at the sky, at the stars, which is something in the city you don't do because you can't see them. Yeah. And so you don't take those moments that we just realized it mattered to us, but we had never really thought about that.
It's amazing how the steps outside the hill across from your shop are major stargazing. It's all the city people that come out from dinner, and it always amazes me, but doesn't surprise me. They're all stop and look up and say, "Oh my gosh, stars!"
Yeah,
and you forget that in the city you don't see them.
right.
No, and that's a great point, Steve. It's such a good vantage point. And again, for those who are listening, these are like the hill sits on a hill. And so the steps up, there's this wonderful little, like, I don't know, moment before you go down the steps. And even I left the other day out of the hill and sort of had that moment. I think the moon was coming up and just sort of, you're at this perfect vantage point. And actually, that's sort of just barely across the street from your store.
Right.
So once you guys sort of felt this, like something was pulling you down here, when you came down, did you know you wanted to buy? Did you think about renting? I'm trying to think. You guys live in Motto, and did you guys rent before, or did you move right into your cottage over there?
No, we moved right in. And in fact, we were the second couple to move into Motto when it was still really, really, you know, it was just starting. Yeah.
You literally watched Motto build all around you.
We did. We have. Yes.
Yeah. You guys are pioneers.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so you moved into that cute little space. And I feel like, did the Sharps help you or had they already picked out the finishes? I can't remember. Was that Mac McKinney that built that?
No. The Sharps did help us. I think we had another interior designer, but I think they were shifting gears. And so that's when the Sharps came in at that time when we were moving in.
I love the finishes in there, just like your store. So when you guys moved in, were you like, oh yeah, well, we've always wanted to open a store, or did something draw you to do that? Like, so you guys move here, you've got this cute house, still working.
Yeah. That's right. I was still working remotely. And, you know, opening a store had always been a dream of mine. From being little and going through college. I mean, so many times I would have relatives and other people say, I know you're going to open a store one day. And that was my dream. But going to school and then getting into the corporate world, you know, life catches up with you in that way. And I thought maybe later in life, this will be something that will happen. I just didn't think that it would present itself so early, but I'm grateful for that. And so it's just something that I've always wanted to do. And basically I've, you know, lived in the fashion retail world. I've got, you know, 15 years of experience and like a decade of experience in branding and marketing for small startups most recently. And so it just kind of felt like it was time to maybe do my own thing. I finally felt like this opportunity is presenting itself. This feels really crazy, but no one's telling me no, and the doors keep opening, and let's just go with it. You know? Yeah. It was maybe a moment of insanity, but it's definitely something that I needed to move forward and to do it.
I love it. Tell us a little bit more about your retail and brand background. Had you done in-store work in retail before, or had it been more on the sales side?
Yes, I've worked for many different departments, but my love and focus has always been on store experiences. When I was in college and with the couple of companies that I have worked for, that's always something that has just really clicked with me. And I understand the relationship between the customer and what you're providing for the customer, not only products, but an experience. And so that's always been a passion of mine, whether it's an in-store experience or even producing an event or something like that. It's all about that experience. And that's where my passion lies.
And you and Jason, I think, built out this space, and we'll put photos. We'll put a link to the store and show photos of the space because it's a beautiful space. But you
Thank
guys
you.
did it like, you dreamed it, you built it. Tell us sort of where that came from. The logo. I definitely want to, because I think the photo in your window, which I think might have been like an old Kodak photo of you and your brother. So
Sure.
like, tell us how like maybe that was a seed of inspiration. I'd love to hear sort of the storytelling because it's such a beautiful space. And I just think it has such a great feel to it.
Thank you. Yes. So speaking of the moment of insanity, we had a very short amount of time to get the store together because we wanted to be open for May and for the June business. And I was doing kind of all the business side of things and, getting orders in and making sure that we were on deadline. And my husband, who is so talented in so many different ways, but is also amazing at building. He built everything in the store, basically all of my fixtures in order to, come on a budget. For a small business, fixtures can get very expensive. And so I am so lucky to have Jason, who is super talented in that area and loves to do it, but just never has the time because of his career. And so, he always jokes that I locked him in this space for like a month and said, okay, don't come out. And I fed him sandwiches, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And anyways, we got it done. But yeah, without him, this dream of Hamlin and how it's come to be, without his support, I would have never gotten it done. So I'm so grateful to have such a supportive husband.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about his background. He has been in entertainment.
Yes.
But like, what drew him into building, or, and what has he done in entertainment? Because he's had a bunch of different roles and some like kind of crazy COVID role this past year as well.
Yeah. So yeah, he through COVID, he's learned a lot about COVID and has had to become a kind of like a COVID supervisor. Now in the entertainment world, that is an actual job and a department. But when things were opening back up and movies were starting to get rolling, everybody had to kind of learn on the spot on how to keep everybody safe and keep production going and not shut down, because those are all people's jobs on the lines. And currently he's a production supervisor. He works in film, and he does, pretty big budget blockbuster movies is what he typically works on. And it's all consuming. So he's here on the weekends mostly. You'll see. I know
we tried to get him on today to sort of tell about his part in the experience, but I know that he's so slammed. So where did his love of like building stuff out come from? Was that something he'd done as a kid, or?
Yeah. He grew up with it. He had his own workshop, in the back of his parents' yard. Had a love for construction at an early age, focused on that in college. But one thing leads to another, and, you change careers, you make a shift, and that's how he found himself in the movie business.
I love it. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about Hamlin. I love the experience. Tell us about the photo.
Sure. Yeah. So we actually created the logo first, and then the Kodak moment came second. And that was just sort of an organic question to Jason when I'm brainstorming. And this photo, which you'll see in the window of my store, is a photo that just continues to pop up in my life in this very digital world that we live in. It's an actual photo, an actual Polaroid, and it just kept presenting itself in my life. And it makes me so happy because it's just such an authentic moment of my mom taking one photo. There wasn't a filter. It wasn't perfect. She just snapped that photo because I had dressed myself in the middle of summer in my grandmother's poncho that she had crocheted me. It's still a mystery whose hat that is that I have on my head, but I came outside and that's me being me. And she's always been supportive of that. And I think that that's part of the magic of that photo and the happiness that it brings. And my brother is right behind me, who has always been a guardian of his little sister since the day I was born. And then, our family car in the driveway. It's just all golden, yummy memories. And I am always so grateful to my parents for providing that for me. And I feel very lucky.
Yeah. It's like the perfect little, was it the 80s or kind
yes,
of?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's definitely the 80s. I am an 80s child. And it just kind of presented itself to me again when we were brainstorming and I was working on branding. And I said to Jason, I go, is this just crazy if I blow this photo up and put it in the window? And he said, no, do it, and I second guess myself. I question myself all the time. That's the creative process, especially when you're putting your face out there. That's definitely not my style, but with his support, it was just like a no-brainer. I had to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's just as much as I love the photo, I love the installation. So tell us what it's printed on, because it's a pull down.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like a pull down shade, I guess you would say. Yeah.
So innovative.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, which is so cool to me.
Right. I mean, that goes back to, the build out and how are we going to get this done and stay within budget to create the space that we truly wanted to create for Hamlin.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more. So a couple of the other things I love about the store. So the curation is fantastic. And as somebody who grew up in California, it feels like it has a little bit of an LA vibe. The clothing, you've got kids stuff. Tell us a little bit about the mix and what's in there and what was the idea behind that.
Yeah. So it's a modern lifestyle store. And I think that's kind of a newer term as far as stores go. Not everyone knows what that is, but at the end of the day, we are a store, but we focus on products that are West Coast inspired, also East Coast inspired. And we're bringing it here to Georgia for everyone to come and see and discover. It's just, there's just influences from everywhere that we've lived and relationships that we've built and things that we've been inspired by or different products. And it's just stuff that we think is cool and worth sharing. And also products that we think the residents here will love, or also people traveling in and visiting Serenbe as well. And at the end of the day, I hope that anyone that walks through my store can find something for themselves, or if they're looking for someone else. But I also just want people to be happy when they come in my store, whether it's the music or just the vibe. At the end of the day, opening my doors, I wanted everybody to be welcome. On that first day we opened, I just wanted people to feel welcome and happy when they came into my store. Maybe you discover something new. Maybe you meet somebody. Maybe you hear a song that you haven't heard in a long time. Or maybe you get to meet me. We have a great conversation, but that's what drives me. And that's my passion in opening Hamlin.
Yeah. And I think the magic, one of the magical things about Serenbe is all of the retailers. The retailers are such the fabric of, the streets in Serenbe. And then who owns them? They're all independent. They all have kind of their own feel and different mix. One of the things that I'm hoping comes back post-COVID is, Steve, you remember the big wheel contest?
Oh, yes. Actually, it's a 2-year break, isn't it?
Yes. So the adult big wheel race, that was a blast. And, that the inspiration for big wheels was, let's just do something that brings everybody together, that brings the community together, makes all the adults feel like kids again. We're working on it. We missed last year because of COVID and it was such a bummer, but we're excited to bring it back. We've had residents asking about it.
I bet.
And we've just been kind of taking the temperature and wanting to make sure it's the right thing. And we're super excited. We're starting to work on all the details. So I hope everybody is ready.
Yes. Well, and the teams last year were half the fun. I mean, the big wheels were incredible, but everybody dressed up. They had themed costumes.
Yeah. That's right. And that was organic.
Organic.
That kind of happened on its own. And we definitely ended up giving a prize for it because we were so happy that everyone was so into it and created their team costumes and everything. And so, yeah, we'll see what this year brings. We just want everybody to have a good time, and we just want to give back to, everyone in the community that supports us. I can't say enough, especially in the last year, all the residents and people that kept my door open, people that called, people that made orders. That's what Big Wheels at the end of the day is about, is just doing something to give back to all of our people that have supported us from the beginning.
Oh, it's a super blast. And it's right in front of the store, and the streets get closed off. I'm going to dig up some of the team photos. I know we have them somewhere.
I do too. Yeah.
Well, and you've done other fun events. Tell us a little bit about how you use your space, and the different kinds of artists and that you've supported, from clothing to actual painting to some other cool ideas, biophilic poster contests. I think you supported a film. Tell us about like all of these fun things that you've done in the past, and that maybe wouldn't typically be a retail experience, but you've made, it's more, to your point, modern lifestyle. So what are some of your favorites besides the Big Wheels?
Oh my gosh. Hamlin is just, I call the Hamlin family, because we're just an eclectic crew, and you don't necessarily have to, make jewelry or apparel. But some of my favorites, of course, is the biophilic poster competition. That was so much fun to be the home of those posters and to have people coming in from the exhibit into the store talking about which piece inspired them. They couldn't decide on just one. They ended up buying 3. It was just such a cool exhibit, and loved working with them. And another artist that I have worked with in the past and hope to get some new pieces in soon is Ash Wheeler. She paints moons. She's going to school to be an astrophysicist.
Wow.
She was going to school for art, and then changed her major kind of right at the end of she was almost graduating, and decided that she wanted to, become an astrophysicist. But her love is moons. And I've always been drawn to the moon. My logo has a moon in it, and that was just sort of happened. I didn't want a moon in my logo. It's just a part of the brainstorming, and that's what I chose. So it just kind of made sense. She had come in one day, and that relationship started, and she had never worked with a retailer before. And so we just winged it. And I was so lucky to have her beautiful moons in the store for a few months until someone came and scooped them all up.
Well,
and it was wonderful, but I was a little sad because I just love them so much. But I love that someone else loved them just as much as me. And that's what it's all about, sharing.
That's great. And so we think she's going to come back with some more moons, or a different inspiration?
So we'll definitely bring in some more moons. This time around, it'll be a little bit different, maybe kind of all the different colors of shades of the moon. We'll see. We haven't really started it. We've just been kind of kicking it around, but it'll be a little bit different than what we did the last go. Yeah.
I love it. Well, and you spill out into the street, and you have this great courtyard, and you've supported cocktail artists. Tell us a little bit of that, because that's a fun.
Yeah. We have, again, another wonderful person that we know who's super talented in making different cocktails, just kind of like that person that will put a few things together, and you say, there's no way that's going to taste good, or that's no way I'm going to like that, because I like this, and that kind of cocktail. And so, and I don't know, anytime we meet somebody like that is super talented, we just want to bring them in and share their talent with everyone. We know if we're enjoying it, everyone else will too. And so this is such a great place with all the residents and all of our customers to share that as well.
I love that. One of the things I wanted to ask, and you brought up the moon in your logo, is where did the name come from, Hamlin?
Yeah, everyone thinks that it was my maiden name or it is my last name if they don't know me. But it's actually a street in Chicago. And it kind of goes back to that golden childhood and, being so thankful for my parents and everything that they've done for me. Hamlin Avenue is a street that they bought their first kind of classic Chicago bungalow home. It's where my brother and I spent our first younger years. And, anytime I go back home, even still to this day, or just growing up, my parents would always talk about Hamlin Avenue. Do you remember on Hamlin Avenue?
Mm-hmm.
And there would be this amazing story of growing up or something that had happened. And so just one day it popped into my head, if I ever did anything, I think I'd call it Hamlin. And so that had been sitting in my pocket for a few years. And again, it just kind of all came together, when the opportunity presented itself.
Mm-hmm. It's super fantastic. One of the other things that I know everybody asked about is your music. They come into the store and they're like, what? Where is your playlist? So tell me about that. Like, I think you created a Spotify channel, right? So everybody can listen.
Yeah, our Spotify channel is most of the playlists are called Hey Hamlin, whether it's Hey Hamlin Chill or Hey Hamlin 60s, 70s, 80s Easy Rock. That's a very eclectic playlist, but that basically goes back to growing up, and those were my happy songs. That's when I was roller skating around in the basement as my dad tinkered on whatever project he was working on. That list there, it's just all about fun and happiness. And yeah, we do a couple other Hey Hamlin Soul, Hey Hamlin Indie, and you can find us on Spotify. You can just search Hey Hamlin or Hamlin. We should pop up. Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, music's a big part of Hamlin. We love it. We love to support it. We've made friends with a few musicians. We did have some live music in the courtyard. We love music. It's part of our life. So it's a part of Hamlin.
Yeah, definitely. So what's in store for Hamlin? We've got the Big Wheel contest coming up June 12th.
Yeah.
But what's the future look like?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Everything has been going so well. I was just super happy to have like 1 year under my belt, and then to make it through a pandemic. Oh my gosh. That's huge. And so this year is kind of like a recalibrating year. It's, last year was just sort of about surviving and continuing to push forward, of course. But this year is a bit of recalibrating and kind of focusing on what is the future for Hamlin. We definitely want to do some more events, maybe some more live music. We'll bring Kevin back, our bartender extraordinaire. I just feel like this year people are going to want to celebrate and get out and do some more things, because we haven't been able to in the last year. So yeah, hoping to just provide some really great experiences.
Yeah, soon. I love it. Well, and also just sort of like some street shopping, because all our stores were not in a mall. Everything rolls out onto the street, and the weather's so great. And I just love the music on the street and just sort of wander and hang out with everybody.
Yeah, totally.
And are you guys at all? I know you guys have an online store, so that everybody can go there and shop that, or get a little sense of what you have. Obviously, we want you to come and shop in person.
Yes, of course.
And we'll have you sign up for the Big Wheel contest. Any other thoughts on like how has it been? Being a resident and a small business owner here. Has that been sort of added to, or is that kind of crazy? Do you want to hide sometimes, or
Oh my gosh. Well, at the end of the day, I'm always so grateful that I've been able to open my store in a community like this. Did I ever think that was going to happen? No. I mean, I thought, wherever my store would be, I didn't know what that would look like, but how lucky am I to have a business in a community with community members, where a lot of them feel like family. It can be a lot. I am human. Knowing everybody and talking all day sometimes. I think anybody in a role where they have to talk all day, sometimes you just got to go home and turn it all off. But my relationships and the people in Serenbe and the people that I meet who travel in and are staying here, though that experience that I have with those people, that's what gets me out of bed every day. That's what inspires me. I feel so lucky to get to do this. Like, this is what I've always wanted to do. So to be here, to start out in Serenbe, I really feel lucky.
And we're so fortunate that you and Jason are here, and every shop owner. I mean, I came from Pilates this morning, and Lauren, all of these people have sort of had a life change. Mm-hmm. And now they're following a dream, or sometimes things they hadn't even thought about.
Right.
And it makes this whole fabric such an interesting tapestry. So thanks for y'all being part of this.
Thank you so much.
So what's the big surprise that you have seen while you've been exploring Serenbe, especially those early days, that you would encourage visitors to maybe seek out or find that isn't obvious when they arrive and walk the streets between the restaurants and the shops?
There are so many things, but I think just finding that peace from wherever you're coming from or whatever you're kind of getting away from, whether it's just to have some downtime, I think to really challenge yourself to be still, to find a place in the woods, find a trail, and just soak it up, because we're so busy. We're so inundated with all the things all the time. And I think that's part of what brought us to Serenbe, is that we felt ourselves slowing down, and that it's okay to slow down and just enjoy being still, maybe doing nothing. We're always so busy. It's so easy to get caught up in the busyness. And I like that we live in a place that reminds us to slow down. And so for anybody visiting, make that a to-do, just find a place and just take in the air, take in the sounds, take in how you feel. I just think that goes a long way these days.
It reinforces the foundation of the name Serenbe, the last two letters.
That's right.
B.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Stacy, for visiting with us today. We love Hamlin. We'll be in shopping this weekend, and we'll be signing up for the Big Wheel race.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Love it. And you still have some of the biophilic posters?
I do. Yes, I do. And we also can continue to print anything that if anybody wants a different print, we also are working with a local printer too, a neighbor who can print any of those posters.
Perfect. We'll add all that. We will add all that to the show notes, including all of your Spotify and Instagram, which is you're so good at. And then we'll come see you this weekend.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Serenbe Stories. New episodes are available on Mondays. Please follow us and leave us a 5-star review. And visit our website to learn more about guests, episodes, and everything Serenbe at serenbestories.com. This episode is supported by the Inn at Serenbe, nestled in the rolling countryside of the bucolic community of Serenbe, where guests can walk on the 15 miles of private trails through preserved forest land, the wildflower meadow, and the animal village. Relax at the pool, hot tub, or in rocking chairs on a wraparound porch. Play on the croquet lawn, grab a canoe, and jump on the in-ground trampoline. Connect with nature and each other, all while staying in a luxurious space at the Inn at Serenbe. Book your stay today at serenbeinn.com. SERENBEINN.com.